So the first question I have for you is how and where did you find wrestling, and in what way would you say it's impacted your life?
So I first started wrestling when I was 5 years old. So my dad was actually a wrestler for 1 year, and that was only 1 year in high school. And so he was like, "Well, that's all it took." And he's like, "Well, I know I want my son to be a wrestler." So my dad's the one who started me with wrestling, and obviously I've been wrestling ever since. But it wasn't until I was 13, 14 years old I really adapted wrestling to me and to be my own sport. But I mean, just growing up with that lifestyle, it's just, I mean, with wrestling, it's just tough. It's unlike any other sport.
Right.
So going in and grinding all the time and wrestling, I mean, kind of just made everything in life easier, I'd say, because, for wrestling, got to be gritty. So that translates to many different parts of life.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned the kind of the mentality and the mindset that it built with putting in that effort every day, and it's something that almost seems like a broken record in a good way. But you mentioned that wrestling kind of made everything easier, and of course, Dan Gable stated that after you wrestle, everything in life is just a little bit easier. And I think the work ethic that wrestling brings definitely can contribute and back up that statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's Dan Gable said it best, but I mean, that's just so true. I mean, versus any other sport you try, like when you try wrestling, I mean, you can tell it's just a different animal. If you've never done it, you don't get it. But as soon as you
Right.
try it, you know what wrestling entails.
No, absolutely. It is a one of a kind sport, and it's not for everybody, but I believe it's something that everyone should try at least once just to get that, you know, subline experience.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that.
Now, as a prep for wrestling for Newton High School, you had a very decorated prep career. Overall, what were your goals while wrestling as a prep?
I mean, so obviously, it was when you're not wrestling at the D1 level yet. That's all. Obviously, my goals from ever since I've been, in high school was, I want to be a national champion, and so kind of having that as the main overarching goal the whole time. That just kind of drives everything I do because I mean, obviously that's the big tournament, but to compete well at the big tournament, I got to compete well at the little tournament. So everything really
Right.
leading up to that, it's all been preparation since I was 5 years old. Is achieving that goal, being a national champion. I got a couple more years to prove that.
Now, as a prep and having that very impressive resume and success, what would you say kind of kept your mindset going during that time? Of course, like you mentioned, you wanted to be a national champion, but what was kind of like the background to that mindset? Like, hey, the each each tournament, everything is a stepping stone towards getting to this goal.
Yeah. Obviously, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and
Mhm.
uh, that couldn't be more true. And so obviously, even leading up to that big tournament, even these little tournaments, I mean, if I'm not training, if I'm not training like I should be to be a national champion, like that's not going to happen. So
Right.
even though it's smaller tournaments, in your mindset, it's like, well, I want to be the best. And when you're training and doing those tournaments, and even the smaller tournaments, I mean, you're never at the top of the mountain. So really having that mindset as well, like you always got to keep trying to get to the top. And as soon as you get to the top, find a new peak. Keep going higher. I mean, Jordan Burroughs is one of the best. He's probably the best wrestler that's ever stepped on the earth. And I mean, even he's working every single day at it. You don't see him
Absolutely.
stop training his moves like, oh no, like I'm good. I've done enough. And so just kind of continuing that on and always trying to find a new peak and keep getting better every single chance you got.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned finding a new peak, which I thought is a great point because, especially in this sport, there's always somebody that's going to be training. It's always going to be, putting forth effort, and there's always going to be someone that's better than you. So putting in that extra work and always staying on track and doing the little things right, I think can contribute to that high level of success, especially in a sport like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's I mean, the very best is, there's very few of those people out there. So along the way, I mean, if you got to keep climbing because until you get there, I mean, it takes work. So it doesn't come easy. You got to put in the work first. That's for sure.
No, absolutely. Now, after finishing up your prep career, how did you find the Air Force Academy, and what made you want to continue your academic and athletic career there?
So the biggest thing for me was I wanted a life beyond wrestling as soon as I'm done. And Air Force Academy, Coach Sam Barber reached out to me. And I kind of just knew right away that it was just kind of different. It kind of felt like family. Just kind of felt like that was the right place for me to go. Obviously, when you go different places, I mean, you kind of know where you feel comfortable. And I got there, and I mean, I'm pretty good at feeling comfortable in the uncomfortable. When I got there, I was like, well, this is a good comfort zone.
Right.
While it's still tough and very pretty rigorous, I mean, that's where I felt like I was most at home. And so after my visit there, I was just like, well, there's no need to look any further. I know this is where I want to go. And so just, more than wrestling there, there's just so much the Air Force has to offer. And the stuff I'll be able to do after because after my wrestling career is over, I'm still going to, I got the rest of my life to live, and I get to do it serving this great nation. So that was just, that's the road I wanted to take.
Well, I think definitely the Air Force is a great field to be in. And you mentioned providing a life after wrestling, and I'd imagine that the opportunities that the Air Force Academy offers are really limitless in that regard, with exploring the world and just being able to build more opportunities off that experience.
Yeah, I mean, the Air Force kind of had everything to offer. I was getting a full ride scholarship. I was, being something bigger than myself. At the same time, wrestling at the highest level. I'm wrestling the Big 12, and so I mean, I was just like, I got everything right here. So what else could I want?
No, absolutely, I agree. Now, so going into this season, you had a remarkable run at the 2023 NCAA championships. You placed third and got on the podium, and actually became the highest wrestler from Air Force to make the podium since I'm slipping on his name now,
Kevin
but
Hoy.
yes, and he made the finals in 2003. Going into those championships, what was your mindset?
I mean, obviously, in the past years, I've been seated pretty high, and I didn't perform well. So I mean, obviously, you have good days and bad days, but more than that, it's every single match you got to earn it at the national tournament. I mean, it's a different animal. I mean, I've talked to people that have been to world championships and stuff like that, and they say the NCAA tournament is one of the most insane tournaments there is on the planet. And so, really, just not taking that for granted. And I mean, even your first match, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. So you just really can't look too far in the future. You just got to take it match by match at a time, because all your concentration needs to be on one match, or else that one match might not go the way you want it to. So really, just staying focused and staying humble throughout the tournament, and just really taking it one match at a time. That's the biggest thing that I have learned in the past that works best for me.
So you would say that having really tunnel vision and having a plan and staying poised through each match through that tournament is the best way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as you start, looking past tournaments, or looking to like, oh, who I'll have in the semifinals or the quarterfinals, well, then you might lose track of a match you have, early on. And if you're not prepared for it and the other guy is prepared for it, you're going to get upset. And I've experienced that firsthand in the 2022 national tournament. And so really just, it's going to take all your focus every single match. You can't just start looking forward. You really got to, hold yourself accountable and take it one match at a time.
Right. No, definitely seems like you mentioned in a tournament that is so hectic and things are so likely to change in this sport, but especially in collegiate competition, as it's been seen before. Staying with emotion under control and having it planned out definitely does seem like the right routine to go through when each match is equally as important. And, like we mentioned, anything can happen. So staying on that topic of the 2023 NCAA tournament, you wrestled Iowa's Tony Cassiope for third place and picked up the fall and made the podium in the top four. What was going through your mind after that match?
Oh, well, I was kind of at first overwhelmed, because I mean, we had plenty of supporters from Air Force going there, and I mean, after that match, the only thing I heard was just the USA chant. So
Right.
I mean, just having that, I was just like, wow, this is really happening. Because I mean, it really makes me really grateful for the wrestling community because I do wrestle with AF on my chest, but more than that, I mean, I wrestle for the community, and I wrestle for USA. Obviously after college, I'm gonna start doing more international wrestling, and hopefully make it to Worlds, go to the Olympics, and keep pursuing my dream there. So it was just a great feeling. I mean, I've always been focused and usually had a game plan and know how a match. I like to think I know how a match is going to go sometimes. And so that was. I mean, I was looking forward to having a full 7-minute tough scrap with Tony, but I just happened to catch him in a little move right there and end it early. So I mean, I was just. That was one of the most memorable moments I've had in my life. That's for sure.
No, absolutely, and it was really it seems like an icing on the cake, so to speak, for that run there. And with another chance coming up next year, what are our goals going into next season?
Oh, national champion, absolutely. That was my goal this year, and I came a little bit short. But one thing I've noticed, I'm climbing the ladder. I still don't think I'm not at my prime yet. So until I reach that, I'm going to keep climbing that ladder. So national champion is the goal for next year.
Well, best of luck in that. I'd love to see it, and it would truly be awesome to get to witness you win a national title and much more beyond that. And kind of staying, you mentioned the international scene and going to world team trials and making the world team in the Olympics. So after your time at Air Force, how long do you plan to stay on the international scene of wrestling?
So for the Air Force Academy and being an officer, I have 5 years of minimum commitment I get to serve. And so during that time, 3 of those years, I'll actually be a part of a program called WCAP, which is the World Class Athlete Program. And so I'll just be wrestling for the Air Force. That will be my job.
Wow.
And so at that, I'll probably stay and wrestle at the AFRTC here in Colorado, go to the Olympic Training Center every once in a while, and just keep developing as a wrestler for a couple of years and see what I can make happen.
Well, that surely sounds like a unique experience and one that will allow you to definitely stay on the mat and work more towards those goals and everything of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as I heard about it, I was like, that sounds like once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm definitely gonna jump on that. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Right. No, definitely. Like you mentioned, of course, one of a kind opportunity there. And like I mentioned before, best of luck in all those coming up, and hope to see you do well. And thank you for joining me. It's been awesome to get to interview you and discuss collegiate wrestling and Air Force and things of that nature.
Yeah, Mason, thank you for having me, man. I love growing the sport of wrestling as much as we can. I definitely think it's on the rise. So spreading the word, doing everything we can. I love it. Love what you're doing. Thank you.
No, absolutely, and likewise, great opportunity to get to interview you and like I said, discuss all this and best of luck in the future and throughout the rest of this summer and going forward.
Heck yeah, Mason. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Take care.